moment in time, you're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't have to say anything.
But I haven't made off.
We don't mention one question to the little line court. Anything you do is maybe give evidence.
But I haven't made off though.
For your arrest is recorded in factual investigation.
Auditor, a spy stops at a BP petrol station to refuel and attempts to pay using a £20 coin issued by the Royal Mint, fully legal tender in the UK. What should have been as simple. Everyday transaction quickly spirals out of control. Staff refuse the coin, call the police, and what started as a civil matter escalates unnecessarily when officers arrive. Instead of calmly resolving the situation, they make things worse and end up arresting a spy, even though no crime had been committed. That reckless choice ultimately backfires. Taking the matter to court, a spy successfully challenges the arrest and recently secured a substantial payout.
£80 coin.
Never seen them in my life.
So it's from the Royal Mint, so the same place that all legal tender comes from.
Have you got any other means of payment at the minute?
I don't know. Can I ask why you didn't tell me before you started recording?
So when we go to any incident, our tour of duty and our police protocol is to video every incident we go to achieve the best evidence.
But you've got to notify the person, or the first available opportunity.
No, we don't.
You do?
Have you got that from somewhere? Have you read that up somewhere? Or?
Yes, your policy. Yeah.
Okay. Well, at the minute, we're obviously videoing everything because we've been called to an incident. Immediate response where there's some ongoing issue with payment, whether it's a domestic...
999?
Well, that's what's coming as, yeah.
Wow.
Well, we just didn't know what was happening. There was an altercation in the shop, so we've arrived on that instance. Are you going to give me your name?
I'm not, no.
Right, okay. Is there a reason for that?
Because it's a civil matter, and it's not something that the police can get involved in.
To a degree, you're right. It is a civil matter. We can deal with it a different way, but obviously, ultimately, you haven't paid for your fuel.
From the moment she arrives, the officer immediately demonstrates that she is unprepared for the situation. The auditor quickly notices her body camera and asks why it hasn't been declared. A basic requirement under clear guidance, officers must inform the public if they are recording at the earliest opportunity. Instead of acknowledging this, she outright denies that such a rule exists. Her next action is equally questionable. She demands the auditor's name, even though this is a civil dispute with the petrol station, not a criminal matter. There is no legal justification for requesting identification where no offense has occurred, whether she was unaware of the law or deliberately ignored it. Either scenario is unacceptable for someone in uniform.
But they're not accepting that money.
But that's up to them to accept it. If they decline...
They've obviously run the post office and they've declined that. Ultimately, it's a civil issue, but if you're not willing to give us your details, then how do we know that you're going to resolve the civil issue at a later date? If you're happy to give us your details, then we can look at the civil issue at a later date.
But that's a civil issue, that's nothing for the police to get involved in.
But we don't know your details, do we? So you could technically escape from here and never come back and never deal with that issue, then you'd be circulated as wanted for that, won't you, for making off without payment?
That's not a police issue at the minute.
It is. It is a police issue because you've not paid for fuel. So there's still an offence there of that you've not paid for your fuel.
But I have paid. I've gave them...
But you've gave them this coin, yeah, which ultimately they've spoke to the post office and they've decided that it's not a reasonable amount of payment for your fuel. So at the minute we're sort of hands are tied, yeah, agree with you on a certain instance of that, but we still need a solution today whether we take your details and we deal with it at a later date.
From her own statements, the officer admits this is a civil dispute, yet she attempts to invent a power to demand identification, implying that compliance will be resolved later. That's not how policing works. If there's no suspected offense, there's no authority to compel personal details. She cannot transform a private payment disagreement into a police-enforced ID check simply because a retailer is unhappy. When she threatened that the auditor could be circulated as wanted, it was pure bluff. Wanted status applies only to criminal matters, such as suspects who fail to appear under an arrest warrant, not disputes over civil contracts. Using the threat of a criminal designation to coerce compliance is a clear misuse of authority and implicitly admits she had no lawful basis to act. If she genuinely believed a crime was involved, she would have had to assess the elements: dishonesty, making off without payment, and intent to avoid paying. Here, the auditor stayed, attempted to pay, and disputed the method of payment. A classic civil matter.
Basically, he's trying to pay with this. They've run the post office and said that it doesn't really exist, you can't pay with that. He obviously won't give us our details. I've explained to him to a degree it's a civil matter, however, if he does make off and he doesn't give us our details, we're struggling for any sort of civil issue at a later date, any details and making off without payment. Yeah. So I've explained if he does give us his details and we know where he is and we can contact him at a later date, hopefully this issue can get resolved. No. He's obviously not really wanting to do that at the minute.
Because it's a civil issue and it's nothing for the police to get involved
But
in.
you're still going to make off, aren't you? Technically without payment, but if we can get your details...
But I have paid.
But you haven't...
And it is their policy to accept the £20 coin.
Have you?
Has he
paid?
Policy? No, he hasn't.
Right, if you haven't paid and if you walk out this door now...
They've still got the money though.
Just let me finish. If you walk out that door now, you are liable for an arrest because we don't have your details.
But you don't need them.
Well, I do.
Because it's a civil issue.
But it's not, because a make off without payment is then a police matter.
The second officer arrives and immediately escalates the situation, jumping straight to threats of arrest. It's completely unjustified. The auditor is still inside, making no attempt to leave while openly disputing the payment. There's no case for making off without payment because he hasn't left. And there's certainly no intent to avoid paying. The threat is even weaker considering the auditor had already tried to pay with a £20 Royal Mint coin, which the cashier refused. That fact alone eliminates any claim that he was avoiding payment. Under the Theft Act, both leaving the premises and intent to avoid payment must be present, neither of which applied here. By twisting a civil disagreement into a criminal matter simply because he didn't provide his details, the officer revealed a complete lack of understanding of the law.
Door now, you'll be getting arrested for make off without payment.
But there is an agreement with BP that the coin can be used.
Is there any other way that you can pay? Because we're going to sit here for hours arguing. I've been quite respectful to you. I appreciate you have to a degree, and I appreciate that from yourself. You haven't been argumentative with me, and I appreciate that you've been a normal human being.
No,
however, we need
I don't intend to. No,
I know you appreciate
that. If you can pay for the fuel now by other means, then that's fair enough. It'll be the end of the matter.
Or if you can give us your details, we can deal with it at a slower time. We can offer you that. But if you're not willing to do either any, then we're struggling with what we have left to do.
Because we can't let you walk out that door without paying. But
we don't know where you live. You might not even be from around here. I'm not saying you are, but you know what I mean. We have people where they'll make off and then they won't give us our details, and then we're going to struggle. I'm still going to have that £20 of fuel, unfortunately, with this BP garage outstanding.
Which car is it?
But I have paid for the fuel.
But you haven't paid for the fuel. Which one?
Right, we're going round in circles, aren't we?
We are, unfortunately, yeah. We've agreed, we've reasoned with you now, and we've tried to say that if you give us your details, just tell you where you live, we'll deal with it slow time. However, you then leave, you don't have your details, you don't know where you live, you could live in London for all we know, and then there's still this making off without payment because they will not accept this as payment.
But I don't have to identify for a civil issue.
It technically isn't a civil issue though, is it, when you leave and you don't pay? You haven't paid for your fuel. We've got the payment here, which isn't acceptable, so really you haven't paid at the minute.
The entire exchange is built on a false premise. The officers repeatedly warn the auditor as if he's about to flee without paying, a moment that never actually happens. He remains inside the store, engaging throughout, and has already attempted to pay with a Royal Mint coin. They aren't reacting to his behavior. They're reacting to a scenario they imagined. That's not policing, it's fiction. The claim that they couldn't verify his identity without forcing him to provide ID is just as weak. His vehicle's number plate was right outside, a legal and immediate way to confirm details if they truly believed it was necessary instead. They ignored that option and doubled down, making demands they had no authority to enforce, twisting a civil payment dispute into grounds for arrest. They weren't resolving the situation, they were blowing it out of proportion.
Because I've handed the coin over, right. So I haven't got that in my possession, and I've contacted BP head office before coming here.
Right, and was that today then, or?
No.
So when was that then? So you've contacted BP head office before you've come in?
Correct.
Right, so did you contact them today, or was it yesterday or last week, or?
It's not up to me to say that.
How's it money?
Do you understand what the £20 coin is?
No, that's why I'm confused.
Well, why are you threatening me for arrest then, if you don't know?
Because it's not money.
It is.
Right. Well, agree to disagree. At the end
you don't know that. It is. It's legal tender, the same as a £20 note and a £10 note.
Right, and who did you speak to from the BP garage, the manager?
It's a Royal Mint who issued that £20 coin.
Right. Okay.
So it's the same money as any other money.
If you get someone on the phone to me who you've spoken to earlier, then we could kind of end the matter here, can't we?
But if it's a civil issue, I don't need to assist you.
But at the minute we don't know it's a civil matter.
But I don't need to assist you in a civil issue.
But you do, because it then turns into a police matter because we don't know that coin.
The auditor had already done more than enough by pointing out that BP themselves confirmed the coin was volley. D. That should have settled the matter immediately. Instead, the officer tries to turn it into a demand, insisting he call the station directly or it becomes a police matter. That's completely unreasonable. He had no legal obligation to make that call, and refusing to do so does not create a criminal offense. Police are meant to assess the facts and apply the law, not shift the burden onto a citizen to prove themselves. Her follow-up statement, "We don't know that coin," only weakens her position further. A £20 Royal Mint coin is official legal tender if the officers fail to recognize it. That is their issue, not the auditor.
It's a civil
We're at risk
agreement.
of being arrested because you haven't given us his details and you're going to walk out that door and it's technically a failure to pay.
But then it'll be a
Make off
civil.
without payment.
But then I'll sue you.
Well, that's
So,
fine. If you want to sue us, that's fine.
unlawful
But
arrest.
like I said, we've been honest with you in terms of which way we can go. The staff here have been very honest, okay? And all I'm saying
But he
is, if you
hasn't.
get the person on the phone who you spoke to earlier with the agreement, then that could be the end of the matter. But
you
as
know-
far as I do, then technically, if you walk out the door, it's going to be make without payment.
He's already accepted to take it.
You haven't accepted to take it. No, haven't accepted to take it. You walk out that door, becomes a criminal matter, and you get arrested for make off without payment.
Oh, you give us your details.
You're refusing to give us your details, and we don't know that that vehicle is yours because you're not.
But I've told you
Is it urgent?
that he said he would take the coin
But he isn't now, is
if
he?
I take my mask off.
Right, well I wasn't here for that, so we have no witnesses, unfortunately, other than you and him. Right now I can't view that.
Body camera.
But right now I can't view that. At the end of the day, you've come in, you've paid for you've got your fuel, you've come in. This isn't a payable matter. Once you leave, we've offered you to give us your details and deal with it that way. For all I know, that vehicle could register somebody else and lived in London. And how are we ever going to trace you?
But I don't need to assist you.
Once you leave this situation, it is making off without payment. I can't be any more reasonable with you and give you some sort of options that we can go.
But I don't need to assist you.
Are you offering to give
Because
the
you're
staff,
wrong.
not myself, not my colleague, the staff your name and contact number?
No.
Right, so we have one option but two will lock you up then.
Well, I've got a civil agreement in the background.
Fine, you can
So-
prove that
You
at
can
court.
prove-
I've got
Prove that at court
That's
then.
fine. You can prove that at court.
Right, well this moment in time, you're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't
I
have to
haven't-
say anything
but I haven't made off.
We don't mention one question to the letter line court. Anything you do is maybe given evidence.
But I haven't made off
Assessing
though.
for your arrest is reported in factual investigation. Okay?
But I haven't made off.
You're under caution as well.
And due to the fact that you failed to provide details.
But I haven't made off.
Failed to provide details, yeah.
But I haven't made off.
Right, are we going to go calmly? Are we going to go quietly?
We would go calmly all the time.
Okay, well, do you want to walk with us then?
Of course.
Thank you. Just come with me, sir, please. Have you got anything in your pockets that's going to harm me or you? Just take them out. It's just a question we ask everybody.
Can we just take your camera off as well, please?
The case went to court, and the auditor walked away with a substantial £3,999 payout plus legal costs. That's not a trivial amount. It's a clear reflection of how seriously the police mishandled the situation. Once the case faced legal scrutiny, their position crumbled. They knew they couldn't defend their actions, leaving settlement as the only option. Yet what makes this even more striking is that, according to the auditor, the chief constable never offered an apology. Thousands of pounds of taxpayer money acknowledged the wrongdoing financially, but no one had the professionalism to admit fault. That silence speaks volumes. It reveals a culture where saving face outweighs accountability, and public trust is treated as secondary. This case perfectly illustrates how even a minor situation can escalate into full-blown misconduct when officers are unfamiliar with the law they are meant to enforce. A simple civil disagreement over a £20 coin, something that should never have involved police, turned into a wrongful arrest. Because ego and authority replaced common sense, the escalation was made. Worse, by officers inventing justifications as they went along, repeatedly asking, "What if you walk out without paying?" Even though the auditor never indicated such intentions. Their entire case was built on a scenario that existed only in their imagination. That's not law enforcement. That's twisting reality to justify actions that have no basis in law. The behavior also exposes a deeper cultural issue, intimidation being used as a substitute for proper policing. Rather than resolving the dispute with patience and knowledge, the officers immediately resorted to threats, detention, and arrest. When fear replaces facts, It's not just the individual who suffers. Public confidence in the system erodes. If this can happen over a coin, it can happen over anything and the aftermath. Nearly £4,000 of taxpayer money paid out, yet no apology from the top. That silence isn't just arrogance. It's a message that the force values protecting